On the other hand, by and large, users were very pleased with the technology and the device as such. They really liked the fact that they had a mobile device they could use in all circumstances, while reading in the train, while being on holiday. A lot of people who used to read books in bed, especially like this device, said, well, this is lighter, easier to handle, and gives us a nice opportunity to have our data collections, both our newspapers and our papers, together with us all the time. What they also were very much in favor of was not the service of one particular newspaper, but they said, if this technology is emerging, I would like to subscribe to not so much 10 newspapers, but maybe 10 sections of different newspapers. And in principle, technologically speaking, there's nothing against it. So they were very much in favor of a portfolio collection of newspaper sections rather than one single newspaper. And that would, if that is the user preference of the future, that will have huge consequences for the industry, if that actually is the direction in which things move. And they said, put much more maps on it. Give us, now the technology is allowing for it, give us visual material. Well, this was one product and one test of a particular product. I would quickly go through another example, in this case of a Swedish project, basically Swedish project, although other parties, European newspapers and other organizations were also involved in it, called DigiNews. And the general purpose of this project was to more or less find out what it takes to produce, distribute and consume digital news. So there was a much more widespread operational plan for this particular project. And in order to find out how far you can go with the present state of technology, they have been using a number of user panels to actually use and evaluate 3 different prototypes of an electronic service based on 3 existing Swedish newspapers. And again, a couple of interesting results. Aftonbladet, one paper which participated. Here there were hardly any links on the front page. It is much more a direct copy of the print product. You had to go to a second page to get the table of contents, again without links still, and later on you got the article section in which you actually choose from this variety of thumbnails which article you actually would like to read. And then again you got the articles in itself. One way of doing things, a lot of clicking involved, in the end not very much appreciated by the test readers. Second newspaper, Göteborgs-Posten, they had already many more navigation opportunities on the front page, where you go directly from the articles from the front page into the articles itself, and you could also alternatively start from the index that also acted as a starting menu. You could go directly into the article, and well, there you are. Still, you can see a one-to-one copy of traditional print product. There's hardly any specific design involved based on the functionalities and the possibilities of electronic reading. Still, the old paper migrated to the new world. That was, of course, this was very helpful. In fact, there was a small navigation menu which appeared on all pages, and test users were very pleased with. So, yeah, this is more or less your online variation of a joystick that you also have in game technology. Third newspaper, Sundsvall Tidning. They had already the hyperlinks on the front page, as you see. The right side bar gave already on the front page an opportunity to move particular sections and pages. That's kept there also on the page indication page. Articles again, yeah, much more visual input than in the other 2 examples. And The lessons out of these 3 prototypes, in short, were that the front page matters, as it mattered and still matters in the print product. It's also an important decision-taking moment for the electronic reader. On the front page, you decide the usage of that particular edition. On the other hand, these test users also refer to the fact that one should not stick to the paper metaphor, that you should not make a direct copy of what the layout and organizational principles of the traditional paper newspaper used to be. One has to reinvent a novel way, a more authentic way of presenting information in electronic means. And that is not necessarily, almost hardly ever, the way things were organized in the print product. And a third element was that the navigation on the front page via the index was very much appreciated. One further conclusion, I think there are a few others that we do not have the time to go into directly, is that the opportunity to provide feedback to articles was very much appreciated. Once it was possible for a reader to give an element of or appreciation or feedback in terms of comment, once that was there, once the author of a particular article was mentioned, once there was an email address of the responsible editor, that again gave an element of satisfaction to the reader. They had the feeling that should they want to, they could control the whole news flow process. Third project that I briefly introduced to you is a project which only has recently started. So that's only in the first month of its 3-year lifespan. And in this case is based on a strategic coalition between 5 Dutch newspapers who would like to develop a new original format for their electronic publications. One important element here is that the newspapers from the very beginning closely cooperate with 2 research institutions. That is not as obvious as one would think it would be. In fact, when you look at all the innovation actions in certainly the newspaper world, there's hardly any structural involvement of R&D. There are only a very, very few companies, even larger companies, who actually do have an R&D development unit. And that is strange when you compare it to other branches of industry. Basically, everybody, whatever the product is, invests between 8 to 10% of its profits into innovative activities, and that is simply not the case in the print industry. Which is strange, and for that reason one has to look for other forms of bringing innovation in a much more structural way to the industry, and that is by strategic cooperation between actual publications, titles, and independent research development institutes. And that is the case in this particular project. Now the general objective is we will try in this project, we ourselves as an institute are involved in it, so I can talk directly about our project here. The idea is to also continue a bit on the line which has started from the Flemish experiment, the Swedish experiment, and now move as a major point of attention to the more journalistic aspect of the whole operation. In fact, the Tijd project, so the Flemish project, was fully concentrated on the technology. There was this novel device and it had to be tested out, and people were almost blinded by the fact that the technology was there, and the whole experiment was organized around it. The Swedish project was strongly focusing on navigation and navigation issues. Again, it's not fully technical, but it's related to the technology and the opportunities to move through a collection of data. And again,